This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. You are listening to episode 303. Today's game will be pitting two Benchwarmer teams against each other. Myself, Josh, and Marcus versus Mason and our Benchwarmer Emeritus Dan. Welcome back to the bench, Dan.
Hey, it's been a while.
It has. Well, you're always welcome back at any time. But since there are four Benchwarmers, and we did not say that this is an all Benchwarmer affair, we do have a guest host today. So today's host is a returning guest, Drew Topp. Drew, welcome back to the bench. Why don't you take a minute to remind us about yourself?
Yeah, awesome to be back, guys. Always enjoy writing a bunch of questions, and it happened to come out that I've got a game ready, so happy to join. For me, been on a couple of times. Had a chance to play with Dan, had a chance to play with Marcus. So I played with a few of the players here today. So it should be a fun round.
Wonderful. Well, I am doing well, and I'm wearing a green hat in honor of Rory McIlroy not quite throwing away the Masters and finishing off his career Grand Slam. So kudos to him. We are recording on the Sunday of Masters. So, Marcus, how are you doing? And let the listeners know what our team name is going to be.
I'm doing fantastic. Starting after 12 years, I'm starting. I got a new coaching gig. I'm going to be the offensive coordinator at a new school, so I'm very excited about that. But it's also extremely nerve-wracking because it's all new. So, but other than that, it's been life is good. I spent way too much money. I haven't even decided who's going with me, but I bought tickets to the Wu-Tang Clan, their last tour, and I'm excited. I'm so excited. I haven't been to a concert in a while, so I'm stoked. Or a big concert, anyways. So I've got my Wu-Tang shirt on, even though it blurred it out there. But it is also WrestleMania week, and as we are coming up on WrestleMania week, I feel like I always end up teaming with somebody around this time, and we just pick a random WWE tag team as our team name. So today, Josh and I will be the Head Shrinkers.
Yeah, we will. All right, and Mason and Dan, let us know how you guys are doing and what your team name is.
Mason, you probably should be going first here.
Yeah, it's a trope that never is going to die no matter what. Even when I finally inevitably get this stroke of genius to come up with team names, I'm still going to be known as this. So it's going to be on my grave. It's just going to be bad at coming up with team names. The only thing on there. But yeah, I'm doing okay. It was actually kind of a fun weekend, honestly. We did a lot more than we normally do. My nephew had a birthday party today, turned 3. So it was fun. Also seeing my son move around a lot because he's almost at the stage of walking. He is crawling fast and standing without holding on to things. It just hasn't gotten the step yet. But he's everything that he needs to do, he's right there. So he almost took a step actually at the birthday party, and then he just fell over and started laughing. So that's usually what happens. But yeah, everything's going well.
My son is 15 and he still does that. Falls over and starts laughing. I'm in that last month of the school year thing right now where, just kill me now or get it over with. One of the two, because it's taken forever. But it also, this year is putting me in that spot where I've got a senior who's graduating, and she's also turning 18 that same weekend. So I'm not okay right now. So coming on here is giving me a nice distraction from having to think about that. So, and our team name, I was talking with Mason and we said, we're both old. We're two of the oldest people on the show. And we decided that our team name is going to be from a Simpsons trope, which is yelling at clouds.
Very nice. Very nice. I just realized when I'm looking at the other players here, Marcus is going to be coaching high schoolers. Dan has high schoolers. Mason teaches high schoolers. I'm the one who doesn't have to do anything with high schoolers these days, and that makes me quite happy. Although, Marcus, I know you're really looking forward to what your new opportunity is, but I'm glad I'm past all the high school things and all the stepkids passing 18 and all that. I don't, it's I'm good also being one of the old guys on the pod. I just apparently aren't. I'm not yelling at clouds today.
Not today.
Not just today. Yeah, just today.
Maybe later.
Okay, well, Dan, I want you to just sit back. You don't have to do anything here because we're going to kick it over to Past Dan for the rules.
The game will consist of 4 quarters of play, each with different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway. You ever tried kicking it over to future Dan?
I don't think we have, not yet.
Just something to think about.
I like this idea of future Dan, but he's not even saying the rules. He's just going, "You gotta get out of here. It's horrible."
Wait, what year is it?
Yeah.
Okay, Drew, I'm going to pass it over to you now. You get to run the rest of the show. I'll probably chime in with the scores for you, but other than that, the floor is yours.
Of course. All right. So, first quarter is going to be pre and post game.
Pre and post game. For this quarter, there will be 4 before and after style questions. For example, if I said, what all-time leader in receptions for the Indianapolis Colts was a Notre Dame safety drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, the answer would be Marvin Harrison Smith. Each question is worth 25 points.
Question number 1 in pre and post game. This former boxer was the first to ever win the heavyweight championship on 3 separate occasions, and this college football analyst has a career record of 284 to 142 losses as of December 9th of 2024. He'd also picked both Notre Dame and Texas to beat Ohio State in the college football playoffs. Maybe next time he'll wear Brutus.
All right, we're going to check in.
All right, Yelling at Clouds has checked in. That lets the head shrinkers talk it out.
Oh, you know what? Would this be Muhammad Ali
Oh, yeah.
to go with Lee Corso?
I don't call him by that name.
My brain was just trying to come up with, some Lee or something like that. But then, I thought, what's the one answer that often comes up for boxing trivia?
Yeah, that would make sense. And shame on them for having Lee Corso continue to do this. It's painful to watch. I don't like it.
Prop him up and put a mascot head on him.
And he can barely. I mean, again, he had a good run, but man, it's just tough to watch him because he can't even form full sentences, and so it's uncomfortable. So yeah. Lee, please retire. I need you to. But anyways, so Muhammad Ali Corso.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll check that in.
And Yelling at Clouds, what did you check in with?
Yeah, we did this back to front, as pre and post game should be. I was trying to do math. So I was like 284 and 142. I'm like, that's a really large number of games for someone coached. And then I read the question again. I was like, oh, this is not having to do anything with coaching. This is just picking games. So yeah, so it's Lee Corso, and then Dan came in with the other half, which I was kind of in the same ballpark as y'all. I was like, I can't think of anybody with last name Lee that works for this, but yeah, we went with the same thing, Muhammad Ali Corso.
Perfect. Yep, that is correct. Both teams are going to be getting their points. Correct answer is Muhammad Ali Corso. All right, question number 2 in pre and post game. Currently sitting at 3.7 blocks per game for his career. This second-year player seemingly had the Defensive Player of the Year locked up until he suffered a season-ending injury. And this Raiders' current assistant head coach has tallied a career record of 0 wins to 7 postseason losses during his 16-year tenure as the head coach for one franchise in the AFC.
Okay, we're going to check in.
All right, the head shrinkers have checked in, so that leaves the Yelling at Clouds to talk it out.
I'm struggling with the second half here.
Yeah.
Because first has Victor Wembanyama.
But what does that put us with the coach? Ma? There's not going to be a Yama.
No?
I think Chip Kelly is the offensive coordinator.
Right. I'm trying to think of. See, the thing is, it's just a weird for 16 years with one team, 0-7 in the postseason. Oh, wait. Is this what's his name? Bengals. Marvin Lewis? Because he was there for a while. He notoriously was not good.
That fits. I don't know that he's with the Raiders, but
I don't know that either, but he was there for a while, and I remember because they always used to lose with Andy Dalton
yeah, they
in the
did.
postseason. So I could see 0-7. I didn't remember it being 16 years. That seems kind of.
Oh, he was there forever. Except for the fact that I don't have any idea that he's with the Raiders. That actually does fit. So maybe we need to go with that.
Okay. So let me see if I can say this here. Victor Wembanyama Marvin Lewis is what we're checking with.
Head shrinkers, what did you guys have for an answer?
Both Marcus and I didn't realize that he was on the Raiders staff either, but 0-7 in the playoffs and having such a long stint with one team, well, that can pretty much only be Marvin Lewis, because yeah, he had that run where just couldn't get a playoff win, and they kept him around probably longer than they should have. So we also checked in with Victor Wembanyama Marvin Lewis.
Perfect. And both teams are going to be getting their points for this question. So I have to just be watching, NFL Sunday Tick, and I was like, I know that face, being a longtime Bengals fan. And then I had to look into it. I was like, oh, yeah, because you typically hear about offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, the head coach. You don't really hear about the assistant head coach who'd been a head coach previously for that long. All right, on to question number 3. This guard had requested and was granted a trade this season, stating that he, quote, didn't want to play for a 5th head coach in less than 8 seasons. And this figure skater won an Olympic gold medal in Lillehammer at the age of 16, which ended up being her first and only Olympic medal.
Okay, we'll check in.
All right, the head shrinkers have checked in. So yelling at clouds.
So 94.
That's the Harding Kerrigan.
Yes.
And the other one was weird name. What was her name?
It was the ladies was Oksana Bayul.
So was she 16 at the time? I don't know. I just know I know the name.
She was young. She was young.
Okay, so geez, something that ends in Ock?
Or Ox.
Ox. Oh, De'Aaron Fox.
Okay.
That would work. Yeah, he was traded from the Kings. So yeah.
All right, sounds good.
It's gotta be De'Aaron Foxana Bayou. So we'll check in with that. Sorry, I wasn't trying to curse. It got very close to it. Dangerous territory there.
Head shrinkers, what are we checking with?
Yeah, when talking about mid-season trades, I remember that quote from De'Aaron Fox, and I was like, it's been that many? That's insane. But yep. So once you said Fox, I immediately, and I really have to give a shout out to Blades of Glory for a lot of my female figure skating names that I know in my head, and I was like Fox, and I was like, oh, Oksana Bayul, and I spelled it very poorly in the chat, and Josh corrected me. So we also checked in with De'Aaron Foxana Bayul.
Yeah, that's correct. Both teams are going to be getting their points for this one. It is De'Aaron Foxana Bayul. Yeah, De'Aaron Fox. That's kind of crazy for someone to show that kind of loyalty to a team that's had that kind of a coaching carousel going on.
That might be one of my more recent favorite pre and post answers.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great one.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate it. All right, takes us to the last question. This speedster in 2016 AL stolen base leader hit an improbable home run in Game 6 of the 2016 World Series off of Aroldis Chapman, which tied the ball game. And this one-time major champion was the only player to lead the PGA Tour in driving distance from 1991 to 1999, not named John Daly.
So we'll check in.
All right. Yelling at clouds has checked in for the final time in the first quarter. So the head shrinkers, you may talk it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Yeah, Chapman was pitching for the Cubs, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So this is a Cleveland redacted.
Speedster.
Hmm. Ale stolen base leader.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time just thinking of that lineup. Who's in it?
I don't. If it was on the Chicago side, I could have come up with a handful of names, but
Yeah.
and one-time major champion who was a long distance hitter, not named John Daly. Oof. I might be no help on either end of this one.
2016 for Cleveland is just a dark cloud. I know nothing.
That's even the division I watch, but
Right.
I still couldn't pinpoint.
I don't think I have anything for this, if I'm being honest.
No, I think I'm in the same place with you.
And like this is before the bigger bases and stuff, so stolen bases might have been he might have had 41 stolen bases or something. Probably wasn't like a super high number, I would imagine.
Yeah. I got nothing, so I'm good for us just punting on this one because I got nothing.
Yeah, this sucks. I don't like doing this, and I can't
No,
even think of anything funny right now. That's what I've been doing for the past like 30 seconds. I was just like, how can I make this hilarious? I can't.
no.
So yeah, I guess we had a punt. I
Yeah,
just don't have anything.
I literally have nothing on either end to try and get to the full thing. So, all right,
Mm-mm.
we're punting.
Okay. My apologies for this playing obviously a little bit, maybe a little tougher than anticipated.
Don't be surprised if you end up maybe getting a who out of this from me, just because it's possible. Don't worry, it's all right.
Okay. Well, let's see what Young Clouds checked in with.
Yeah, so we both came with the same answer in the second half, worked back to front. I knew that the first guy was Cleveland because I would fit everything. I just couldn't think of who it was. We both landed on the name of Davis Love III for the second half. And as soon as I heard Davis, I was like, this is a guy who stole a lot of bases. I didn't remember him being in Cleveland, but probably was there because he went to like 8 different teams, especially toward the end. So we checked in with Rajai Davis Love III.
And Young Clouds is going to be getting their points on this one. This is Rajay Davis, Love the Third. Yeah, so 2016 was one of the most watched World Series. For me, I remember watching that line drive. You're like, oh wow, that's maybe a double, and then it just kept going and cleared the fence, and tied up that game in the eighth. And then yeah, Davis Love the Third is the only person that stopped Daly from running the 90s.
All right, I'm sorry that Rajai, whatever you said, Davis. Who? I've never heard of him before.
He
So,
was more
Really?
Toronto and
Yeah.
Oakland.
Oh, he played in Oakland. That's how I know him. As soon as you said Davis, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Rajai Davis.
All right, Josh, you did a score update.
oh hey, you want a score update? Yeah, we did. We finished a quarter, didn't we? All right. Well, after the first quarter, we have the following scores: Head Shrinkers, we're at 75, and Yelling at Clouds is at 100.
We wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
All right, that brings us to our second quarter, which will be the missing link.
The Missing Link. This quarter will consist of 5 questions with theme-linked answers. The teams will attempt to answer the questions and guess the theme. Each question is worth 20 points. If a team checks in first via chat to the host with the correct theme before the 5th question, they will earn 100 points. The other team can still earn 50 points with the correct theme guess. If neither team has checked in with the correct theme before the 5th question, each team can earn 50 points with the correct answer to the theme after the 5th question.
And on to the first question. The sole player in a trade that shaped 2 franchises for decades thereafter. The official trade was for a lump sum of cash, 3 follow-up payments, a substantial personal loan, all in exchange for one player and a mortgage taken out on their field. Who was this player?
We will check in.
All right. The head shrinkers have checked in. Young at Clouds, you may talk it out.
This has got to be Babe Ruth.
Good, because I had nothing. I was trying to process this question of what I was trying to figure out what sport it was. First off, I was like, I don't even know what sport this is.
This has got to be an
sense.
old timey thing with all of that going in. And who would have caused that huge of a trade at that point, you know?
Right. And also the fact that it's just one player.
Yeah, we'll check in with Babe Ruth.
Head shrinkers, what was your answer?
Yeah, I think the personal loan was to fund Broadway show or two. Like the Red Sox owner really wanted to get into Broadway, I guess, or something like that. And kind of a dumb decision in the end, because I don't know if anybody knows what any of those musicals might have been. But we also pretty quickly came to that this had to be the Babe Ruth trade. So that's also what we checked in with.
Both teams are receiving points. This is Mr. George Herman or Babe Ruth. And yeah, that was one where you always heard that it was, cash for player. But then I saw there's an account I follow on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that broke down how the money was paid out. And yeah, apparently he was just in need of some cash and was willing to give up a player for it. Too bad it happened to be him.
Would have been cool if the show was Damn Yankees.
That would have been amazing. I don't think that's what it was, though.
Well, we can just say it was. No one's going to follow up on this. It's not like this
you
is
don't
going to
think
be
we'll
out
get
there
a-
in the ether forever.
Yeah, it's 2025. You can just say whatever you want, and as long as you have confidence in it, people will believe you.
That's
You see, this is
sadly
present Dan,
true.
not future Dan. If it was future Dan, maybe.
Well, hey, if future Dan exists, he's going to come back right now and tell us if we're right or wrong. Hey, everyone, this is Future Dan, coming back to let you know that the musical that was put on from the money made from the Babe Ruth trade was not Damn Yankees. That was much later. It was a play called My Lady Friends, which apparently went on to be adapted as a show called No No Nanette. As you were.
Okay. And we move on to question number 2 in the missing link. This 2019 Hall of Famer inductee and 0-time Super Bowl champion played for 2 teams across his 17-year career. At the time of his retirement, he was second in career interceptions, first in seasons with 50 or more receptions, first in consecutive games with a reception, and 5th all-time in total receiving yards.
Well, we'll check in.
Yelling at Clouds has checked in. The head shrinkers may talk it out.
Yeah, I think 2019 time frame, I think, works out for Tony Gonzalez. And I think when he did retire, he was second in career receptions. Initially you're like, what wide receiver went in? And I don't.
Right.
But he virtually was a wide receiver. He just, he just lined up close to the line typically. But
Yeah, I mean, okay, and I totally I get the respect for Gronk and Travis Kelce, but man, people are really just not even talking about Tony Gonzalez anymore, and I'm like, I think people already forgot how good he was for a very, very, very long time.
all right, we're gonna check in with Tony Gonzalez.
Yelling at Clouds, what was your answer?
As we have been doing a lot tonight, we both typed the same answer to each other right away. We both had Tony Gonzalez on this.
Perfect. Both teams are receiving points. The correct answer is the second best tight end in Chiefs history, Tony Gonzalez. Just kidding on that part. It is absolutely Travis Kelce is the second best. All right, on to question number 3 in the missing link. Coming out victorious in the fight of the century, which led to Super Fight 2, Thrilla in Manila, he finished with a career record of 32, 4-1 with 27 KOs.
Okay, we'll check in.
The head shrinkers have checked in. Yelling at Clouds, you may talk it out.
I mean, we've had Joe Frazier for a while. We were just trying to figure out a theme.
Yeah.
It's definitely Joe Frazier.
Head Shrinkers, what did you check it with?
Yeah, we also we were just making sure we had our fights straight, our named fights straight, and we also checked in with Smokin' Joe Frazier.
Yep, both teams are receiving their points. It is Smokin' Joe Frazier. And on to question number 4 in the missing link. This NBA Hall of Famer stated in an interview that he didn't want to die of a heart attack at 40. He went on to have a 10-year career, played for 3 teams, and had a heart attack that causes passing at the age of 40.
That's just sad.
Hey, I can't kill anyone that's already dead.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll check in.
Yeah, we'll check in. Yep.
Yelling at Clouds has checked in. The Head Drinkers, you may talk it out.
Yeah. I don't really have a lot of steam behind this, but like I was saying, is I think with such a short NBA career, because technically they're not NBA Hall of Famers,
Yeah, it's the Naismith.
which can be foreign players, dominant college players, WNBA players,
people who aren't that good.
Well, there is that. I thought
there's
maybe
also that.
that's what got me thinking somebody who was like dominant in college, like maybe was like a player of the year and had a shorter career. I don't know for fact on any of this other than I know that Pete Maravich had a fairly short NBA career and he was a national player of the year in college. Like he had like a crazy, at least one season, he was just like his stats were insane. I can't remember specifically about it, but that's the only thing that led me to that. I have no actual I could be super far.
But
from the
he
answer.
did die young, right?
I think so, relatively. I don't know a ton about him because I've not done a lot of research on him per se.
Yeah, and I know he played for the Hawks and the Jazz, and I'm sure it's not unreasonable to think he played for a third team. So
Right.
it's the best. That's as good a guess as I have because.
All right, we're gonna check in with Pistol Pete Maravich.
Yelling at Clouds, what was your answer?
Yeah, I told Dan that I knew this quote because I know the story about it. I watched some documentary about it. And yeah, he played for 3 teams. The third team is the Celtics. He was at the Celtics very end of his career. He has a really high 3-point percentage because he was his last year was the first year that they entered the 3-point shot. So he has like a super high 3-point percentage because he didn't take that many. But yeah, this is Pete Maravich. So I knew the quote, and he did die very young. He was playing a pickup basketball game and died at 40. So, but yeah, Pete Maravich.
That's why I don't play pickup basketball.
I wanted to start playing pickup basketball again. Are you telling me I shouldn't? Because I might have heart attack?
I'm just saying I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both teams checked with the correct answer. It is Pistol Pete Maravich. Yeah, he was referencing his dad, Preston Maravich, who died of a heart attack at 40. He was just saying that that's not what he wanted to have happen in his life. Unfortunately, I think he jinxed some stuff on that one. All right, moving on to the 5th and final question, the missing link. This Syracuse legend, was picked ahead of Brandon Jennings, Ty Lawson, and Jeff Teague, but is considered to be one of the worst draft busts of all time, purely because the other players are available at his time of selection. He only managed to play 29 total games in the last 2 seasons of his 4-year NBA career.
We'll check in.
All right, the Head Shrinkers have checked in. Young at Clouds, you may talk it out.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was wrong.
This is so this I think if I'm remembering correctly, because Ty Lawson kind of pinpoints it.
Yeah.
Would be 2009-ish, and
Well, if that's the case, then
I think it's got to be.
then I'm
Sorry, I don't want to.
I'm out.
Sorry,
See ya.
I'm not. I'm not trying to make people mad on this pod. 2 people on this podcast mad here.
You're not making us mad.
He made you mad.
This is all Drew's fault.
Sorry, I'm gonna cough it because I don't want to say it. But Johnny Flynn.
Head Shrinkers, what was your answer?
Yeah, as soon as you got about halfway through this question and you said Jennings, Holiday, Ty Lawson, Jeff Teague, and I went, oh no.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for the light bulb to go off for Josh.
It took me a second, and I went,
yeah.
oh, wait, Ty Lawson, he was the 3rd point guard technically drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round, even though that was to be traded. But yeah,
Yep. So I will say it so you don't have to.
Thank you.
We also checked in with Johnny Flynn.
That's correct. The correct answer for this one is Johnny Flynn. Yeah, so typically you call this the Steph Curry draft, but that kind of immediately brings up that knowledge. But it's also so many other guys that were there were just ended up having at least really good NBA careers. I mean, none of those guys are probably going to be Hall of Famers, but they're all obviously very solid at their time. All right, that is the fifth question for the missing link. Answer for number 1 was George Herman Babe Ruth. Number 2 was Tony Gonzalez. Question number 3 was Smokin' Joe Frazier. Number 4 was Pistol Pete Maravich. And number 5 was Johnny Flynn.
I think we're ready to check in our theme then.
Head shrinkers check in with their missing link answer. I will say, as a hint, don't take the actual the fun nickname, like the pistol portion, into consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So George, Tony, Joe, Pete, and Johnny. What boy band has those 5 guys in it? It sounds like this might be like a '60s group because nobody's named Pete anymore. Except like Pete Wentz. But other than that, these sounds like 5 old guy names. So this is like what '60s group you think had a lead singer named Johnny, with a Pete in there? Pete Townsend played for another band that we didn't know about. Joe Cocker and Johnny Mathis. There you go. We're just gonna make up a fake band name.
George Harrison in there.
That's a weird super group.
Are they all Supreme Court justices?
They are not. Otherwise, I'd have thrown a Bader Ginsburg in there.
Well, you got Ruth already, so
Yeah, dude, you actually know what you're right.
You have Ruth. And yeah, that's a bit.
And everybody's favorite judge, Johnny Justice.
Oh boy.
Okay.
all right. I got nothing on this.
We'll take our 0 and move on because I have no
Marvel superheroes.
There you go. Safe answer. There's 1,000 of them.
Head shrinkers. Did you guys come up with the correct answer?
When Drew specifically said George, then I went, oh, it's George, as the first one. So this would be George Foster, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, and Johnny Bench. This is members of the Big Red Machine.
That is the correct missing link. It is your 5 frontmen for the Big Red Machine.
All right. Well, we have a lead change because Marcus and I were able to get to an answer of the theme and get some extra points. So Yelling at Clouds is at 200 and Head Shrinkers we're at 225.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 25 points.
I'm going to give you 4 sport-related movies in an order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an actor in common between 1 and 2. There's a different actor in common between 2 and 3, and a third actor in common between 3 and 4.
Ooh.
So it's an actor chain reaction from sports movies.
Oh.
So you're going to give me 3 answers for each question.
Wow. This
Make
actually
sense?
sounds fun.
They're all sport-related questions.
Until we get into
Dan,
it, it sounds fun.
Mason had something he had to go take care of.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I gotta go do it right now. So I'll be back in about.
Is the
20
baby
minutes, I guess.
crying? You got to go and.
No, he's sleeping. Oh, he sleeps. He sleeps at like
There's
6:30.
a fire, and I gotta go save it from this baby.
Is there a kidnapper coming into your house right now? You gotta.
I mean, there's a window right in front of me. Let me check it. Yikes! Never mind. I gotta go. All right. Let me just.
All right. Your movies are Turbo, To Coach Carter, To the Express, and To the Rookie.
We can check in.
So Yelling at Clouds has checked in with their 3 answers. The Head Shrinkers, you guys may talk this one out.
Okay. So, like you said, you knew nothing about Turbo. I was like, it's animated, I'm pretty sure, and it's like something to do with racing. So, and I think it's the Indy 500. Samuel L. Jackson does a voice for it. I'm positive.
Okay. And he was Coach Carter.
And he was Coach Carter. Now, I know exactly who it is. It's the guy who played Ernie Davis in The Express. He was a player in Coach Carter. I just can't remember his stupid name, and it's so generic.
And I remember if you can come up with a last name even, we're probably fine by Jeopardy rules. I'm right on the third, right? That from the Express to the Rookie is Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. Oh, it's oh my God. Rob Brown. That's his name.
Nice. I don't know who that is, but all right. I mean,
You
I'm
would
sure
if
I've
you
seen
saw
his face.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we'll say Samuel L. Jackson, Rob Brown, and Dennis Quaid.
Yelling Clouds, what was your check-in?
Yes, it was absolutely Sam Jackson, Rob Brown, and Dennis Quaid.
It is absolutely Samuel L. Jackson, Rob Brown, and Dennis Quaid. And you're exactly right. Every time you see his face for a long time, like, I know exactly what it is. No idea what his name is. On to question number 2 in halftime. Your movies are The Longest Yard, to Draft Day, to 42, ending on Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I'd say we're good.
All right, then we can check in.
All right. The head shrinkers have checked in. Yelling at Clouds, you may talk it out.
I can't come up with anything between 42 and Friday Night Lights. We're gonna say Terry Crews, Chadwick Boseman, and Tim McGraw.
Okay. Head shrinkers, what did you guys check in with?
So I knew right off the bat that the connection for Draft Day in 42 was Chadwick Boseman. And then I was really struggling with The Longest Yard because there's so many people in that movie. It's just like constant. There's somebody you recognize. And I've only seen Draft Day one time. But Josh brought up Terry Crews, and it was the only one that made sense. And I don't know. I'm sure you'll tell us. But so we went Terry Crews, Chadwick Boseman, and then the last connection. I've never watched Friday Night Lights, the movie or the series, but I have watched 42, and Lucas Black plays Pee Wee Reese, I think, and I know he was a player in Friday Night Lights. I don't know which player, but I remember his dumb face, and so I'm not surprised you didn't get Lucas Black because that's a deep pull. But I know him also from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Anyways, so all that being said, Terry Crews, Chadwick Boseman, Lucas Black. Checked in.
And those are your 3 answers. It is Terry Crews. It is Chadwick Boseman. It is Lucas Black.
I don't remember Lewis Black being in any of those movies.
He would have made a great quarterback, I tell you what. Okay. So that leads us into our final question in halftime. Your 4 movies, as partially previewed here, are Rookie of the Year, to Pride, to The Last Boy Scout, to Lay the Favorite.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna check in.
All right. Head shrinker may have checked in. Yelling at Clouds.
All right. So it's Daniel Stern and Damon Wayans for sure. Then it gets really, really sketchy when you get to this one because I Lay the Favorite. I have glimpses, I think, of what this movie was.
Sounds like a direct-to-DVD kind of movie.
I think it's a professional better is what it is.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Based on the title.
The only the person that we thought this could possibly be would be Bruce Willis.
And by we mean you.
I was speaking with the royal we. So I guess Daniel Stern, Damon Wayans, and Bruce Willis.
The head shrinkers. What did you guys check in with?
Yeah, Marcus was really quick with Daniel Stern. I would have gotten there, I think, on my own. And then he told me I haven't seen either of the last 2 movies. I know that Damon Wayans was in The Last Boy Scout and Celtic Pride. So I was like, okay, there's that connection. And since I knew that Bruce Willis was the other main actor in The Last Boy Scout, and I'm not sure I could have told you another actor off the top of my head in that movie, we also checked in with him as our third. So same answers.
Yep, and both teams are getting the points.
All right. Well, after halftime, we have some scores. Yelling at Clouds is at 250, and Head Shrinkers is up to 300.
That brings us to our third quarter, which will be 5-on-3.
Five on 3.
For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized lists containing 5 items, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
The first question in our 5-on-3. I'm looking for the 5 current NFL head coaches that are currently coaching for a team that they previously played for.
We'll check in.
All right. The head shrinkers have checked in.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so I'm just trying to go through former players that are coaches. That's really the way I'm going about this.
right. So you've got Dan Campbell.
Yes, for sure. D'Amico Ryans,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep. Mike Vrabel,
for sure.
and you said
Aaron
Aaron
Glenn
Glenn was drafted by the Jets,
by
right?
the Jets, yes. He played there for a while.
Yeah.
From whatever, like, because he drafted mid-90s. He was there. I forgot he's a coach. But yes, he is, because
And I really do think that Jim Harbaugh played for the Chargers.
I don't remember it, but I just was thinking about guys. And then, I mean, the other players that I have, or people that have played, I don't think played for those teams. Like, so
Kellen Moore did not play for the
no,
Saints.
Zach Taylor didn't play for the Bengals. Kevin O'Connell played for the Vikings. Sean Payton, I don't think played for the Broncos. Like, it's just like the ones I'm thinking that were. See, that's fun. It was a funny thought of him possibly doing that because he's a backup, but no, I don't think he did.
Honestly, I think we've got the 5. I do.
Yeah, like Harbaugh's the one I'm least sure about. But if you have something that he played there, I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
think he did. I do. So I say we go with all 5.
Okay, so we're gonna go Dan Campbell, D'Amico Ryans, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel, Aaron Glenn as our finish.
Awesome. And the head shrinkers, what did you guys check in with?
Yeah, we were Marcus was pretty quick to be like, Jim Harbaugh played for the Chargers, right? And I think he did as well. And then we just kind of were slowly, Marcus was more methodical, but I was just kind of jumping around, and I kept throwing out names, and he kept saying yes, and we ended up with the same 5. So Jim Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, Aaron Glenn, and D'Amico Ryans.
That is correct. Both teams receiving all of their points. All right. That leads us into question number 2 in 5-on-3. I'm looking for the 5 MLB pitchers that have a 19 strikeouts in a 1 9-inning game. There's plenty that have done it in more than 9 innings, but only 5 have done it in a 9-inning game. This also excludes those that have a 20 strikeout game. So if they have 20 strikeouts, it does not count for a 19 strikeout.
So this is 19 exactly.
Oh.
19 on the
okay.
number.
Oh.
Never mind. Ignore my answers then.
All right, we're going to check in.
The head shrinkers, you guys may talk it out.
I think we're feeling good with the names that we've come up with, right? So you said Randy Johnson did it twice in 97, so obviously if he did it twice, he's done it at least once.
Yes, he has.
I think you're right about David Cohn. I think he's maybe that name on the list that would surprise some people.
So the reason is my room in our old house when I was a kid, I used to cut out the sports pages of like the Mariners games, and I remember them talking about that in 1997, and I think, but prior to that, I think the last one before him was David Cohn. That's why I had that in my head.
Okay.
So I feel good about David Cohn.
And I'm almost certain that Nolan Ryan, that's his top. Because I think the 20 list in 9 inning is only 2 or 3 guys long. So, and then, I said Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver. I think I've looked at Steve Carlton's Wikipedia page and stuff quite a bit, just because I always think it's funny that he's one of the people listed as a Minnesota Twin in Cooperstown, because he played his last season with the Twins, and by played I mean was there.
He's hanging out.
So I think he also got 19. And Tom Seaver, I just came up with his name because I know he's like in the top 10 all time for strikeouts, but I don't know for certain that he got a game that high. So I'm not confident to go all 5 on that, since it's either,
Yeah,
I
well,
feel
then let's.
confident adding Ryan and Carlton to our list of Johnson and Cone. I think going those four, I feel good with.
I'm good with that. No need to stretch for 5 if we don't feel great about
I
it.
don't like I said, I just know he's high on the list, so it won't surprise me if he's also one who's done it, but I don't have any knowledge of that. So, all right, we're
Okay.
going to check in with Randy Johnson, David Cohn, Nolan Ryan, and Steve Carlton.
Okay. Yellow Clouds. What did you guys check in with?
Well, we're trailing and points don't matter, so we are actually going to do all 5. Um, we were, I was positive on Steve Carlton. He was the first one to do it. But it was his days with the Cardinals, so it was really early. Former, Twins legend, Steve Carlton. I should have waited until you were done with your whiskey before that.
Ooh,
Mason was fairly positive on Tom Seaver, and I agreed. Nolan Ryan just made sense. Randy Johnson, yes, did it twice. And then the other one the only reason I remember this at all was because I was a freshman in college and I was running a primitive fantasy baseball league where I had to go do it through the box scores. And David Cohn definitely did it. I just wasn't sure if it was a 9-inning game, but we also went with David Cohn. So Carlton, Seaver, Ryan Johnson, and Cohn.
All right. And both teams are receiving their points. Yeah, the fifth one was Tom Seaver. Carlton was the first one to do it in 1969 with the Cardinals. Seaver did it the next year with the Mets. But great job, great polls on those guys. All right. That's going to move us on to the last question in the 5-on-3. So I am looking for the 5 most recent NBA players to score a 70 plus in a single game.
The list
I think we can check in.
check all 17 of them in.
Yeah.
All right. Billy Cloud has checked in with 17
without
answers.
getting hurt.
The head shrinkers. Over to you.
Okay.
That's because most of them are at the free throw line. He probably shot like 45 free throws that game.
Fair. All right.
Okay.
Do we feel we're not missing anybody?
Because my whole thing until you brought up Embiid, I was like, does this go back to Kobe's 81? But when you brought up Embiid, I think we're good now because you have Luka, Embiid, and you said you thought they were in the same week, right?
I think that's why I remember
Yeah.
it is that they both scored 70 like in the same week. It was a crazy like, oh God, somebody scored 70 and then like 4 or 5 days later,
Yeah.
I don't remember which one did it first, but it was I just remember that being a thing last season.
Yeah. I know Devin Booker did it because that was the game where the Suns were really bad and everybody was pissed because they like carried him off the court. I'm pretty sure they lost the game, but he scored 70 and everybody was like, who cares?
Okay. Yeah.
And Devin Booker, who he's definitely up on my list of people I do not like. And I'm certain Donovan Mitchell did it. I just
Yeah.
remember he had one of those crazy games with I think it was his first year with the Cavs he did it.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
you
you're
said
right, yeah.
Dame,
Yeah.
and I think he had a 70. So I think that's the 5.
All right. Well, let's check those in then.
Okay, we're gonna check in with Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and Damian Lillard.
All right. And Yellow Clouds. What did you guys check in with?
Yeah, Dan and I were just naming names back and forth to start off with. And first one I thought of was Devin Booker.
That was mine too.
That was the first one I thought of, and I'm like, why did I think of this one first? Because there's been other ones afterwards. But I think that would have been my senior year of high school. So I remember that. We think the 5 most recent are the only 5 active ones on this list because everything else you get to Kobe and then David Robinson and then like David Thompson and you even go further. But like it's a bunch of
A
older
whole
names,
bunch
but-
of wilt after that.
yeah, a whole lot of Wilt. Just like 8,000 times.
He was scoring 70 on and off the court.
The 5 we went with were Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, and Joel Embiid.
All right. Both teams are receiving their points, and Mason pretty much nailed it. Luka did it in 2024, 4 days after Joel Embiid did his. So you're right on that one, Josh. Dame and Donovan Mitchell both did theirs in 2023. And then Devin Booker did his in 2017. And yeah, they did lose to the Celtics. Then you have an 11-year gap to Kobe in 06, 12 years to David Robinson in 94, and then another 16, 18 years to David Thompson.
All right. Well, we have just wrapped up the third quarter, and we have some scores again. Yelling at Clouds is up to 400, and Head Shrinkers is at 440.
All right. This brings us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total. Known as Put Your Fours Up.
Thanks, Current Dan.
Thanks, Current Dan.
No.
Thanks.
Yeah, Mason.
You have to get the tone right.
So the first question will be pertaining to the NFL. The second question will be pertaining to the NBA. The third question will be pertaining to college sports. And the fourth question will also be pertaining to college sports.
It is now time for the teams to place their wagers.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions.
All right, that leads us to the first question in the fourth quarter. This AFC team became the first in NFL history to miss the playoffs while having the number one defense and the number one offense statistically. They accomplished this feat in the 2010 season after finishing with a record of 9-7.
We'll check it.
All right, Yelling at Clouds has checked in. The Head Shrinkers, you guys may talk it out.
Yeah, okay.
Number one offense and number one defense, and they missed out on the playoffs, finishing 9-7. If we're saying statistically, then I'm assuming this is points per game.
Well, is it points per game or is it yards per game? Because that's the other metric that they.
True.
Do you know, Drew? Do you know which?
Based off of total yards.
Total yards.
Total yards. Okay.
So.
Okay.
Got a lot of yards, gave up very few yards, but only finished 9-7.
You know what this screams to me?
What?
New York Jets. Because this is that era with Rex Ryan and Sanchez. Let's see. Sanchez was 2009 draft. No, but he made the playoffs his first 2 years, I think.
Yeah. I was just gonna say
Yeah.
I thought that was in the.
Okay. I mean, that's right in that area though with Miami. And this would have been Chad Pennington, maybe.
They get to 9 wins though.
They were in the playoffs a couple of times, I think, when Pennington was there.
Was he wouldn't have led the top off the number one offense.
But this is yards. It's
Do you
not.
think he would have number one yards? I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. It'd be Houston. Ooh. Oh yeah. You know what? That was this been one of those. This could be like that year, that crazy year that Matt Schaub had, where he like was slinging the ball all over the place, and then he had like that crazy run of pick sixes. He threw like 8 or something insane.
Did they have a good defense though?
In 2010, that would have been like Mario Williams and Brian Cushing and D'Amico Ryans. I don't know.
I mean, one of the other like AFC team I think of that like would put up a ton of yards is Phillip Rivers would always just sling the ball for forever.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they had a good defense in 2010. I don't.
Yeah, that's another good one.
That's why I was trying to think of teams like that were just throwing the ball all over the place.
That actually makes more sense to me. Because
I don't have any real.
I like that better than anything I've said, honestly.
Right.
Because
Well,
you think of Phillip Rivers throwing the ball all over the place. I think LT might have been gone by this time, maybe, or right at the end. So slinging the ball a lot. I mean, they had Merriman and like Antonio Cromartie, and yeah, why not?
Go with that.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll check in with the San Diego Chargers
Superchargers.
for 100.
All right. Yelling at clouds. You guys checked in first. What was your answer?
Yeah, I had this before you finished the question because I know this fact. Also, there is a very, very good Dorktown video by John Boyce because I'm obsessed with him. That breaks down why this team struggled, and special teams was a lot of it. They had some really rough special teams. Like they lost a lot of close games, field goal kicker missed, giving up big punt returns and kick returns. And this team that was the only team to ever do this and somehow didn't make the playoffs because their special teams is bad and also luck things. Was the 2010 San Diego Chargers for 100 points. What we wagered.
Both teams
Okay.
are receiving their points. Yeah, Mason, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, they were the number one offensive defense, but they lost 5 of the first 7 games. Week 1, they had a return punt for touchdown against. Week 3, they gave up 2 kick return for touchdowns.
Against the
Week
Seahawks,
5.
it was Leon Washington.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Week 5, they lost by a score with a blocked punt for a safety and another blocked punt return for a touchdown.
Oh my word.
Week 7,
It was that bad.
they had a false start that pushed back and made field goal. Then he missed the field goal in the back around. So special teams does matter.
It sure does.
Well, apparently
They
when
s-
you're that bad, yeah, it does.
Yes. They recovered at the end of the year and they went on a streak for a little while.
Yeah, I
but
think
it
they
was
won
too
7
late.
out of the last 9. But
Yeah,
they didn't have
they
a
lost
chance.
to the Chiefs where Brody Croyle had to start a game somewhere in there. But they beat them. But it was like Brody Croyle was starting for Kansas City and they somehow won the division. So yeah,
boy,
that
man.
it's an interesting video, but it's a whole mess to watch all the things that they had to deal with.
Oh my God.
That's
I'm
amazing.
glad I wasn't a
Yeah.
Charger fan that season. That would have been brutal to
Yeah, I don't know how much
watch.
more you can say that it's destined to not win games.
Oh my God.
All right, that brings us to question number 2 in the fourth quarter. This is the NBA. This player set a record by recording the worst shooting night in NBA history. He had the most missed field goals in a single game without having a single make by going 0 for 17 from the field in 44 minutes. Somehow, he still willed his Golden State Warriors to a victory over the Timberwolves in a 1991 matchup.
That's my
We'll check in.
thought.
All right, Yelling at Clouds has checked in. The head shrinkers, you guys can talk this one out.
Okay, so we're thinking it's that, that trio era for Golden State where they had Mullen, Richmond, and Hardaway.
Yeah.
So normally when you're picking between 3 players, you got a 33 and a 30% chance of winning.
I would have a hard time thinking Mullen would have gone 0 for 17.
But Chris Mullen's not going to be because he can't
He can't shoot. He's not even gonna try. Okay. I couldn't help myself. Okay. This seems like a Tim Hardaway ass stat to me.
And like I said, I would think that so if Richmond was in there and he went 0 for 17, you might take the shooting guard out to cool him down a bit if he was making nothing. But a point guard is at least facilitating. And maybe that's part of the willed his team to a win. You don't have to will your team to a win over the Timberwolves in 91. I mean, it doesn't take much. So you missed 17 shots. Guess what?
That's why he was
Stu
able to
Richardson
take
isn't
17
gonna
shots
come
and it didn't matter.
One of the
yeah.
other team missed 16 shots in a row,
So
so
I guess,
it would
yeah.
balance out.
I would lean Hardaway just because he would have been still facilitating the ball, bringing it up and all that, even if he was having a ice cold night.
He has the demeanor of I'm just going to shoot my way out of this. And I think of Richmond more as a slasher than a pure shooter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, you just want to go with Hardaway?
I think he's the one that would make the most sense to still be left in the game being that cold.
Yeah.
Personally. But
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah, all right. So go ahead.
We'll check in with Tim Hardaway for 100 points.
All right, and Yelling at Clouds, what was your check-in?
Yeah.
It
We'd have a
had to
lot.
be someone from Run TMC, and of those 3, we thought Hardaway would probably be the one that would be doing this. So we had him at 141 2/3% chance of being the answer to this. So we went with Tim Hardaway
For how many points?
for 100.
Can we get 141 2/3? I mean, we might as well.
Yeah.
While we're asking.
All right, both teams are going to be receiving their points on this one. It is Tim Hardaway Sr. He posted his stat line of 2 points, 3 rebounds, and 13 assists. And that's kind of why he was left in, to kind of help facilitate the team around. He did go 2 for 2 on his free throws, so he finished with a true shooting percentage that night of 5.59.
Wow.
More Steiner Math.
Hey, good thing they were playing the Timberwolves, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, so he could go over 17 and be okay.
And they still win. Right.
Tony Campbell wasn't stepping up and knocking down shots for the Timberwolves that night.
All right, let's move it on to question number 3 in the fourth quarter. The 2025 NCAA Men's March Madness didn't have quite as many upsets as initially predicted by analysts, because we had all 4 number 1 seeds make the Final Four. The last time this happened, interestingly enough, was also in San Antonio back in 2008. Who was the 2008 NCAA Men's March Madness Most Outstanding Player, who then went on to be drafted in the second round in that year's NBA draft?
We're going to check in, yeah.
The head trickers have checked in. That leaves Yelling at Clouds to talk it out.
Yeah, this is Kansas and Memphis.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the other 2 teams, but I remember that. So it's going to be one of the players on there. Play 2 games.
And I don't remember much of Memphis besides Derrick Rose.
I mean, there has to be somebody else. It's probably not going to be someone relevant,
right? But I do think I think this is probably Mario Chalmers. That's what I think.
Because I mean, the only other person I know for sure is on the team was Cole Aldrich, and he was drafted in the first round for some inexplicable reason later on.
I think it has to be Mario Chalmers.
Yeah.
So we'll check in with Mario Chalmers for 100 points.
The head shrinkers. What was your answer?
So thanks to Josh for directing me in the right direction. Initially, I was like, "Oh yeah, Florida Gators." I was like, and then I was like, "Wait a minute." I was pretty sure it was either Horford or Noah, and then or even Corey Brewer, and I'm like, they were all first round picks. So I was like, "Is this Torian Green?" I was getting deep in the weeds, and then he was like, "No, I'm pretty sure this was. Oh wait, this was Kansas, Memphis." UNC and UCLA, and then Kansas won, and I go, "Oh, well then, yeah, this has got to be Mario Chalmers." So we checked in with that for 100 points.
Yeah, both teams are going to be receiving their points in this one. That was Mario Chalmers. I'm not sure how you have a great tournament like that, and then not a single team thinks you're worthy of a first round option. I mean, not a Hall of Famer, but he did have a.
Because he's an old man. He was a senior. How dare he be old?
I mean, he was
basketball.
no Perry Ellis.
Hey, and Mason,
what's
my God?
Yeah, he was yelling at Clouds.
Mason, why are you joining in on the Minnesota hate, ripping on Cole Aldrich? Born and bred Minnesotan, and you're just.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yes.
He just wasn't good in the NBA. I was like, I don't know. I didn't know where
he was
from.
serviceable in the NBA for a 7-footer.
Who did he play for?
He played for OKC for a while. In high school? I think he was Bloomington Jefferson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. This has been your Minnesota high school minute.
Yeah. I thought you meant who did he play for in the pros. Yeah, he played for.
Sounds like a really old NFL player.
Bloomington Jefferson.
The only person who looked older in college basketball than Perry Ellis was Javon Carter that played for West Virginia.
Yeah,
he looked 45 when he was a junior at West Virginia, and I was like, "Who's this old ass man that they're letting play with these kids?"
Well, Evan Eschmeyer played for about 15 years in college.
This is going to be a great transition to question 4.
Oh,
all right. So this does transition us into our final question of the game. Stay with me here; it's a little bit lengthy, but it definitely deserves a question. This Miami Hurricanes tight end, who shares his first name with his quarterback that also transferred in from the Pacific Northwest, completed his 9th season as a collegiate athlete. His career resume reads 2016, Oregon redshirt. 2017, Oregon, 13 games played. 2018, Oregon, torn ligament and broken leg. 2019, Oregon, ankle screw inflammation, out for season. 2020, ankle reconstruction. 2021, torn Achilles. 2022, Oregon, 13 games played. 2023, transferred to Miami, 13 games played. And 2024, Miami, 13 games played. It's been rumored that he's working on an appeal to the NCAA ACC to allow for a fifth played season due to injuries and COVID season taking away the majority of his career.
You good with that?
Sure.
All right, checking in.
All right. The head shrinkers have checked in. That lets Yelling at the Clouds talk this one out.
Well, Mason, I'm going to give you its Cam something.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's where I'm trying to bounce off of.
I don't think it matters because I'm pretty sure that Marcus got this. So
yeah, what is his name? It's a longer last name.
Biaka Patuka.
No, it's not a weird last name. It's like it's a more generic.
Tell
last name.
Tim
What
that's
is
a
it?
weird last name. Okay,
How many Biaka Batukas do you know?
Tim.
How about Illinois quarterback legend Nathan Shieldhouse? That's a good long last name.
What is his name? It's not helping me here.
Jim
I mean,
Shikenjansky.
I got vetoed from a Charlie Throckmorton question.
Oh,
This is aggravating me because I've seen this circulating around so much.
Do you need
ridiculous.
access to the
Man.
we haven't had.
I don't want to let you down, Dan, if I can't pull this.
You can go in the Mind Palace if you
Oh my
if you need it.
gosh.
Editors, get ready.
Yeah, we haven't had a Mind Palace drop in forever.
Did
Dan's
you
letting
clean
me
it all
in.
up after the last time David was in there?
Oh, I've David proofed it. He's no. I've been sleeping on the couch in there to make sure he doesn't come in.
Oh, jeez. Man, I don't want to let everybody down by not getting this if I go in.
Unless he sits there and watches
Do
me
it.
sleep.
Oh, he might.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. David catching strays again. Whenever he's not on, he catches
It's the
strays.
pastime of the podcast now. It's just let's rip on David for some reason.
He'll hear this tomorrow morning.
Walking the dog.
He'll be writing the thread immediately at like 4:45, and he'll be like, "What?" Well, for me, it'll be like 4:45, and he'll be like, "Who? I don't understand why this keeps happening."
Entrance into the Mind Palace, though, requires you taking your headphones off, just so you know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do it, even though it's gonna
Yeah,
probably be for
baby.
nothing at this point. All right, Dan. I'm gonna do it.
Come on.
Give me a moment here.
He's going. He's going. He's in.
I'm gonna put them back on momentarily. Luckily, I can still hear you through my headphones. So if you're saying anything, I'll still be able to hear it next time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can badmouth me. I'll still hear it. so.
Okay, hold on. Oh God,
All right.
Mason, he's really pissing me off right now.
Well, let's just keep ripping on David Lux during this time.
Let's see. I mean, that's the problem though, is he's so consistent. There's like nothing new to rip on him for.
I've got the Oregon Miami transfer card catalog right there. I'm hoping he's looking in there.
The old Oregon Miami pipeline.
It's not as prolific as the Seattle Minnesota pipeline.
No. The very pronounced Seattle.
That's a two-way. That's a two-way pipeline.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
I'm back. Okay. It literally took me writing down what I vaguely remember about the last name and finally landing on something here. So I hope I'm not letting you down, but this is what I'm thinking it is because it's something clicked as soon as I wrote this down. Because I knew it was longer and for some reason I had an M in mind and then I started bouncing my way there. I think it's Cam McCormick. For some reason that snuck up to me because I was like, for some reason M and I got to like Mac and then I was like that something flowed with it. I don't know why.
Seasoning guy?
Yeah, probably his grandson, I imagine. It might be something else, but for some reason, like I said, something with M was sticking in my head, and then I landed on something like MacArthur, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. I guess the general guy, if we were gonna go on the same logic here.
The park guy?
Oh gosh, we don't need to talk about melting cake in the rain. I was actually talking to someone about that recently. I'm like, that is the most contrived chorus you can possibly imagine. Is that What do you mean you don't have the recipe again?
I'll never have that recipe again. Oh
What
no.
do you mean never? Somebody made it. They have to have a recipe. They just made that from scratch. And you just let it melt in the rain. What are we doing here?
Angry
Put
Mason
a lid
has
on it.
become my
Put a lid on
favorite.
it. Yeah, Richard
So I
Harris.
like
Put a lid
this.
on it, okay? Donna Summer's version's better anyway, all right? I don't need Richard Harris or anything. Whatever. Fine. Cam McCormick, 100 points.
Okay. Head shrinkers. What did you guys check in with?
Oh my gosh.
That's why I'm the oldest person on the podcast.
He went into the mind palace and came out with a fiery rage. It just built up there. That was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first game I watched this year with Miami and Cam Ward, and they were like, "Oh, hey, check out this neat graphic of this guy who's been playing in college football for 9 years," and it is absolutely Cam McCormick for 100 points.
Awesome. Great finish, guys. The correct answer is Cam McCormick. All right. The game has come to an end, and here are the final scores. We've got Yelling at Clouds finishes with 800, and our clipboard captains of the game, who are receiving the coveted Luke Ridnour Award with 840 points, is the Head Shrinkers.
Sonics
believe we done
legend Luke Ridnour.
Timberwolves legend Luke Ridnour.
It's a punching bag for Minnesota here.
And we won't mention where he went to school because it doesn't matter because it's trash.
I
That's
remember
for you.
playing
That's for you, David.
like NBA Live back in the day, and just you do like the three randoms. You get you pick the last team, whatever. Just playing the Timberwolves, like I don't even know who's on this team back in the day, and I was like, all right, whatever. Just had this fast little point guard, and I tried to like some 80-point game in a tournament with just Luke Ridnour.
Now, go ahead, Dan.
I'm pretty sure that Luke Ridnour was on one of those Timberwolves teams where they started 5 white guys.
Oh yeah, because they had Petrovic.
Petrovic.
Yeah, Petrovic and
Kevin Love.
Yes.
Wally Zerbiak.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, and I don't want any of you to get offended, but I knew the Sonics weren't long for Seattle when in one draft with 2 top 10 picks, they picked Luke Ridnour and Nick Collison. Now, that is just unfathomable. You just can't do that. Not then. We can't be doing this.
Thunder legend.
Nick Collison
Nick
had like a
Collison.
20-year career for the Thunder.
He sure did.
Didn't he
And
get it? Wasn't he the first to have his number retired by
because
the
he's the
Thunder?
only one that'll do it.
Yep, he had his jersey
'Cause they-
retired that matches to
Because they've asked Gary Payton and Sean Kemp multiple times, and they're like, absolutely not. Thanks, though.
All right. Well, hey, after all of that nonsense, that was a great game, Drew. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thanks.
Is there anything that you would like to say before we call it a night?
No, I just have I've read a bunch of questions just when I think about things or see things come through. So I mean, I do stuff with other trivias too, even just non-sport related trivia stuff. That's where the movie ones came in. Hopefully that one was at least a little bit fun. Yeah, I had a good time. You guys are always a good time. We've been on a few times, and it's always been a good evening.
Yeah, we always like when guests want to come on and write a game and host because, selfishly, it means we don't have to write another game. I mean, we love writing games, don't get us wrong, but sometimes it's nice to have a breather. Okay, Marcus is shaking his head no.
It's terrifying. I feel like I'm so terrible at it.
But yeah, no. So listeners, if you are listening, put together a game and you can get assistance from one of the Benchwarmers. Just reach out to us. We'll help you get it ready to go, and we'll have you come on and host because, we like having guests play, but we also like having guest hosts. So Drew, thank you again.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Dan, since you're not on very often, anything you want to say before we call it a night?
Nope. I just abide. I'll be back. I said I would when I got off the show, and
That is true.
I'll be back.
Well, thank you for joining us again today, Dan, and I'm sure we'll see future Dan at some point. Maybe not the future Dan that was referenced earlier, but future Dan.
Disheveled, battle-tested, like scars, future Dan.
There are things I've seen you wouldn't believe.
I'm curious, is this like zombie apocalypse Dan we're speaking
Yeah.
of? Or?
You have an eye patch.
Michael
I'm gonna
Biehn
show
Michael
up and
Biehn in
just say-
Terminator.
What year is it? It's 2025. Was this before or after the nuclear meltdown?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh boy! All right. Well, with that being said, on behalf of Marcus, Mason, Dan, the rest of the Benchwarmers, and myself, we'd like to say thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at Benchwarmers TP.